Hey guys, coming at you with another video on my Heritage Rough Rider 6.5-inch barrel. This is going to be a disassembly gunsmithing type video. I've already done the gunsmithing part, but as I'm disassembling it, I'll tell you what I did. And of course, you're going to get to learn how to reassemble it as well. So, let's get started. Alright, so I've got the weapon unloaded and safe. You can see I got my long rifles and my magnums off to the side. And my spare cylinder, we're not going to need that. So let's start off with this. In order to disassemble this gun, the first thing you need to do is remove that cylinder. So you're going to pull the hammer back 2 clicks until it gets into the rotating position, see? And I'm having to hold the camera in one hand, so I'm going to explain to you what I'm going to do. I'm going to push this pin in, see it? And take that little pin right there. It'll just slide out. You slide it out while you're holding that down. Okay? So I've taken the pin out. It's right here, as you can see. Alright. Now that cylinder, in order to take it out while the hammer is still in half cock, I'm going to open that loading gate, and that cylinder can just roll right out of there like this. You see? We'll set that to the side up here with that. And now we're all set and ready to go. You can pull the hammer all the way back now. And make sure the hammer is all the way forward. Before you start this. So, the first step here is usually to take the grip off. There's a screw right here. You just unscrew that and the grip pops right off. This side and this side. And that exposes the spring for the hammer. Basically, everything in the grip, you shouldn't ever have to take apart at all. I mean, it should last you for a long time. So I'm not going to bother taking the grip off, but if you want to take it off, that's what you do. Take that screw out, and the grip sides just pop right off. No problem. But what I'm going to do first, since I'm not taking that grip off, I have to take off the back strap, this piece right here that the grip is attached to. And if you look right here, you see a screw here and a screw here. I'm going to start by removing those screws. Okay, so now that I've taken those screws out, see, I got them right there. Now I'm going to work on these 2 screws and that screw, okay? Alright, so I got those screws out, see? And now this back strap is going to just pop right off, like it's already trying to come off. But you got to be careful, because where that frame is connected to the back strap, see that little seam in there? If you look closely, you'll see a spring that has a little bit of tension on it. You see? So what's going to happen is that spring can pop out on you depending on the amount of tension. So you want to release it slowly. There's that spring. Now, so you got this spring that came out first, and then this little piece that goes on the end of the spring that came out last. This little piece is inside there. You don't want to lose that. This is your loading gate spring. That's what keeps your loading gate in place and has a tension on it. And now that that spring is gone, that loading gate is going to just kind of pop right out of there. See? Set that to the side, and this is what we're left with right here. Now, the next step here is to remove the hammer screw and the trigger screw. Okay, these two screws right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so I got those taken out. I got them both right there. Okay, now with those taken out, your hammer can just kind of slide right out, just like so. We'll set that to the side right here. And then you can already see it kind of coming out down here. This is going to be what catches your cylinder right here. You see that long metal thing on it? That's the handspring. That's one part of gunsmithing I did. I ordered a new part from Heritage. Took probably less than a week for it to come in. I got it pretty quick, and it was pretty cheap too. I'm gonna say it was like $8, and put it in myself. Cheap fix. All their parts are usually pretty cheap. So I'm gonna set this over here, right by the hammer. And you notice over here the trigger just kind of fell out. That's okay, no biggie. Now right here, you see that little screw right there? We got to take that out. So I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, so I've got that screw loosened. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of take it and turn it upside down, and everything just falls right out. Nothing left in there. And I'll show you what just fell out. Okay. Besides the screw, we'll put it up here, we have the trigger spring. It's in pretty good shape. And the cylinder stop right here. And obviously the trigger. So now we got this thing pretty much completely taken apart. You can also take off the ejector rod housing. There's a screw up here that allows you to do that. But we're not going to delve into all that. Okay. Now, part of the gunsmithing I did was on this hammer. Okay. If you look right there, that little bump you see on the hammer, yeah, that thing, I filed that down with a file. When I did that, it stopped it from misfiring a whole lot. It really seemed to help out tremendously. So you don't want to file off too much, so just do a little bit at a time. Then you got to reassemble it though and test it, and if it doesn't work, then disassemble it again and do it again. Reassemble, basically rinse, wash, repeat. So now, to put it back together, you're basically just going to reverse the process, but there are a few key things to keep in mind. So right here, alright, the first thing that you're going to want to install is the trigger setup. Okay. I take that back. The first thing that you want to install is the hammer. That'll make it a lot easier. Okay. So basically, you're going to take the hammer, and you see there's the screw hole right here, and then two little holes right here, right? That bottom hole is going to fit this piece in it like so. just like that, okay? And then you're going to slide this hammer in like so. And if you look down here, you see a little opening right there. That's where you're going to slide the spring in this tool right here into the gun. So you just do it like that, you see? And then from there, just kind of push it straight up. And you're going to align the holes, okay? And basically just put the screw back in, just the way you had it. So I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, so I've got the hammer screw in, okay? Now I'm going to work on the trigger setup. And there's a certain way you kind of got to do this. First, you got to put this in, okay? And the way you do that is you see this little small hump right here? If you look on the bottom here, you see that little hole? You're basically just going to put that hump in there and let the other side fall into this little space where the hammer is, okay? I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so you see how that's sticking up through the bottom of that hole. You see how that other side is kind of resting right in there in the hammer? It's a little tricky, but you got to line those holes up. And if you notice on this trigger, there's a screw hole. Now you've got to slide that in between the top part of this frame and that cylinder catch. So you got to slide it in this slot right here and line up the holes, okay? And screw the screw in. So, alright, we got that part done. Now we're going to reinstall the trigger spring. So let's get that trigger spring screw there. Now basically you're going to install it. If you look at it, you see one side has a little hump on it going up. You're going to install it with that hump side facing up, okay? You're going to put it right in here. Just line it up. Alright, now that we got that in, we're going to go ahead and see that little hole right there, that big one. That's where that spring is going to go for the loading gate. Remember that guy? And this guy? You're basically going to put the end on it like that and place it inside that hole. Just like so. See? Now from here, you can go ahead and reinsert the loading gate. That comes pretty easy. Just goes in a hole. Right here. Let me take this and show you. A hole right here. See it? That's where your loading gate is going to go. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in real quick. Just kind of slides right in there. Kind of hard to do one-handed, but alright. It might help if you take the spring out first and then put the loading gate in. There we go. and then you go ahead and put the springs in. There we go. So we got the loading gate in and that spring in. Okay. Now we're just going to take the back strap and line it back up and put, I always like to start off with the two small screws in this end right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now when you do this, you got to kind of be careful because of that spring. You got to make sure you have enough tension on it to where it's not going to pop off, at least until you get those bottom two screws in. Alright, we got the screws in down here and up here. Now from here, the next step would be to install these two back screws. But if you want to, you can go ahead and test it from here. 1 click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks, and 4. Not bad. Okay. So you know it's put together right. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and put these two screws in real quick. Alright. And from here, you're going to want to kind of make sure that's tight. Trust me, that does start coming loose. So let me do that real quick. Alright, and from here, we're just going to pull the hammer back to half cock and throw that cylinder back in real quick. Alright, we're going to go ahead and insert that base pin into this hole right here. You push that little spring thing down, and that while you're holding that down, you push that base pin in. Alright, I just put that base pin in, as you can see, and it's still in half cock, so I'm going to finish cocking it all the way back. Hold the trigger and slowly ease the hammer back down. I'm going to go ahead and test the action, make sure it cycles. There we go. And that, guys, is my video on the disassembly and reassembly and some little gunsmithing tricks I did to help it run smoother. I plan on getting a new hammer and a new trigger as well, because I have a little problem on the third click. The hammer doesn't want to stay caught back, so I'm going to see if that fixes that problem. When I do, I'll be sure and post an update. Till then, stay chill, y'all.